Recordings for Lordi's fourth album began in 2008 with the release of Deadache on October 29th. This album saw a change of costumes for the band. The style of the album was similar to the band's previous albums, with melodic and hard rock influenced heavy metal, but with a more horror-influenced feel. Before the release of the album, it was announced that it would be featuring more piano parts than previous albums. The album's first single was Bite It Like a Bulldog, released on September 3rd. Before the album's release, Lordi announced that Deadache would be sold worldwide, just like its predecessor. In November 2008, Lordi toured the United States alongside Lizzie Borden. Shortly after the release of Deadache, Lordi performed Bite It Like a Bulldog on the NBC late-night show Conan O'Brien on November 6, 2008.
The next album, we have Deadache. And Deadache, this came out in 2008, and since I was a fan, I actually was current with the band before this album came out, so I was actually highly anticipating Deadache during its arrival. And this album, when I first listened to it, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't as big of a fan as I was, because this one definitely toned down the heavy metal hardness of it and brought it back more to a sort of darker roots like the Monster Can Dream. And it also had this just era of more horror infused. But to be honest, as I've grown up, I've learned to appreciate Deadache a lot more as an album, and actually probably one of Lordi's finest pieces of work in terms of like lyrical content too, because this album has a lot of like seriousness to it. There's not a lot, like Lordi sort of has some fun music in it, like funny like lyrics and things that aren't really supposed to be taken seriously. But this album, for some reason, Lordi must have, I think Lordi was going through a bit of some hard times during this, but this album has a lot of good stuff, and I'd say that the album track, Deadache, is one of the best tracks on this. And in terms of the lineup, we do keep the same lineup from the last one, which I love. And to be honest, the costumes just get better and better. I still love the Apocalypse costumes more, but these costumes still look pretty slick as well. The one complaint I would have to say is during this time, this is when the album covers started to change, and I'll get to that in the next one. And it's also when the band, their music video quality started to go down. Bite It Like a Bulldog was the single, and the only single for Deadache, which was very odd because Get Heavy, Monster Can Dream, and Apocalypse had like multiple singles with multiple music videos. This one only got one, and I think that also has to do with some of the financial hardships that the band was going through at the time. But yeah, it was kind of weird, and the music video itself did not make any sense. What the lyrics were talking about and what was playing on screen didn't make a lot of sense, but oh well, that's what we got. The other annoying thing about this time in the band, especially this album in particular, is region exclusivity. There were many tracks that were excluded from the standard release that were only exclusive on iTunes. There was one track on iTunes, one track for Japan only, one track for like a live version or something like that. There was a special edition or something. There were all these different editions of Deadache, and a lot of those had one track per the bonus thing. So you could never have a complete edition of Deadache. I kind of wish they would reissue this album with all the tracks, because the bonus tracks in Deadache are probably they're like the best tracks of Lordi ever. And it just sucks that we don't have an actual physical way to own all of those songs. In fact, even on Spotify, those songs are not listed. They don't even exist on Spotify. The only way to get them is from YouTube. So that kind of sucks. So Lordi, if you're listening, which I highly doubt you are, but if you're listening, please reissue this with like a complete edition, because my God, I really was not into the whole exclusive stuff. But Deadache though, again, first listen to it, was not big into it, but after growing up with it and learning to appreciate it, I think this is actually one of Lordi's finest stuff. Now, before we move on to the next album, we actually have another compilation album. This now made a lot more sense to have a best of compilation album, because at this point, Lordi was very well known in Finland and sort of around the world. And this made a lot more sense because a lot of the songs, he had a bigger library of tracks, so it made more sense to actually start making a compilation album. Now, you may be asking yourself, why do I have two copies of this? Well, I got gypped when I first bought this way back in the day. I have a jewel case version and a digipack version, and this one is actually just the standard version. It has 2 discs, I believe. No, that's right, it's just 1 disc, and it's just the best of tracks on that. The real one that you want to get is the digipack version that actually has 3 discs. This has 3 discs bonus content. 2 of them are, one of them is the actual, compilation track. I think the other one is a concert live recording, and then the other one is some music video, or it's a bonus DVD of the Market Square Massacre, which is a very famous recording of Lordi back in the day. I think it was done in 2006, yeah. So I got gypped because when I first bought it, they gave me this one, and I was like, no, I didn't want, so I had to rebuy it and actually get the real one. So I have 2 now. But there's really nothing much to say about the compilation because it literally is a compilation of the last 4 albums. So, but it's pretty good. I also like the name Zombilation. That's another thing you guys will notice about Lordi, and what I love about the band is that the play on words with horror themes. So compilation, zombie, compilation, you got Zombilation, the Apocalypse, Rock, and the Deadache, I got a headache, and Dead. So it's really funny stuff. So that, yeah.